Deputy Commissioner Lyons, would you like to go ahead and make a few announcements before we start?
Sure. Good morning, everybody. A great crowd here. Glad to see everybody joining us this morning. I think we're going to have a really good agenda here. We'll let the Secretary kick it off in just a moment. As we did last time, this is obviously our second quarterly meeting. It's being recorded. It's open for questions. We'll take questions after each presentation, and then we'll have open discussion at the end for those folks that may have other issues they want to ask about that we didn't cover. Please use the chat feature, if you will, to ask questions, and then Tammy will read those off at the end of each presentation, and we'll put answers to those. And for the callers that aren't on the video module and have the chat function, we'll allow you to ask questions at the end of each presentation after we cover the chat question. If everybody could mute their microphones, that would help greatly in avoiding feedback while the speakers talk. And again, thanks for everybody joining us. I think I've covered all the housekeeping measures, Tammy, and we can start with Secretary Goodman. So thanks, Secretary, and the floor is yours.
Thank you. And thank you all for attending. You know, it's a pretty good attendance. We haven't had any problem, I think, getting people to show up for these meetings. Everybody's very interested in Martin County, as are we. And as we committed to you previously, you know, these are our effort to get everybody who's got anything important and interesting to say regarding Martin County and all of the people who can make things happen for Martin County together at the same table. It's just a high priority for us. So having said all that, I thank you all for coming to the meeting. I thank everybody for coming in and being ready to share and talk about what they're doing. We need to continue this open, this positive collaboration as long as we can. I think there's no end to what we can do. So I will remark, I see Nina McCoy, or Nina McCoy. Is it Nina or Nina?
Yeah.
Is it Nina?
No, Nina.
Nina, okay. Nina McCoy is on here. Thank you, Nina. UK recently released a report that I think Nina McCoy and the concerned citizens of Martin County were involved in. We're reviewing that report right now. The report had a sampling for disinfection byproducts at the tap in Martin County, and while we are reviewing that, they may want to make a few comments on that later, and we'd be happy to hear those. You know, I think that goes a long way toward restoring public confidence in the drinking water. We just need to continue, as I said, this open and transparent process, and I think as long as we do that, we can gradually rebuild that confidence. Few of the things that we expect to talk about today are the fact that the PSC has now consolidated their cases involving Martin County. There's some additional financial tracking and reporting requirements in there. I think that Chairman Schmidt might have a few comments to make on that. We welcome those. Our Division of Water is evaluating the depth of the Crum Reservoir. Let's see, I think, is it weekly? I think it's weekly. Yeah. A new pump was installed at the raw water intake, and pumping from the Tug Rivers currently, maintaining that level. The newly formed technical subcommittee, which I think is Paul Miller and his group, has met 3 times since we last met in February, or since the February meeting, and is looking at water loss, and they're going to present some findings today. We have gone live with the Martin County Water District Workgroup webpage. It contains links for meeting notices, presentations, and other documents. And I think if I'm not mistaken, and Tammy can correct me if I'm wrong, that the recordings of these meetings will be posted there as well. So having said all that, I think that's enough, a mouthful, and you all are tired of hearing from me. So let's hear from the people who are actually doing the hard work. So John Lyons.
Thank you, Secretary. One other agenda item. We'll also be hearing from Jimmy Kerr, Chairman of the Martin County Water District Board, and look forward to his comments as well. But first up to bat is Chairman Schmidt with the PSC. So, Mr. Chairman, look forward to your remarks.
Okay, can I be heard? Sure, I'm on. Okay, thank you. Yeah, in July of this year, last month, the Public Service Commission closed its formal investigation into the operational and managerial capacity of the Martin County Water District, and also closed, that was opened in 2016, and closed its 2017 rate case, and opened a new case, 2020-00154, for the purpose of monitoring the operation and management of the Martin County Water District going forward. And so what we have done in entering an order on July 22nd of this year was to provide that on a monthly basis, Alliance, the management company, would provide the district with all of the data, financial information, business information that it was providing to the board, and that then once a month, Alliance and board members or their representatives would meet with our staff in a virtual meeting like this in order to discuss the operational status of the district, the information that had been provided, so that we could be available to render whatever assistance might be thought necessary, or that they could solve any potential problem that our lawyers or financial analysts might see going forward. In addition to that, we required the district to provide on a monthly basis a report of purchases from Evans Hardware Company in Martin County. Evans is one of the largest suppliers of goods and services to the district, and we were unaware of the fact, although we probably should have picked it up last year, that Evans was charging a substantial amount of interest, maybe up to 20% simple interest on its outstanding debt. And so basically we asked the district to work on getting rid of that interest, since the legal interest rate under the Consumer Protection Law is 8%, and there was no written agreement or note which would have permitted Evans to charge a rate above 8%, and we would never have approved it had we known it anyway. So in any event, the district basically took prompt action and got Evans to basically eliminate the interest charges, so that on one account there was interest. The bill was $56,467.39, and Mr. Kerr and the commissioners basically got Evans to write off more than $26,000 of that bill, so that now it's down to $30,000. And on another account that was $22,000, Evans wrote off $3,600, and it's down to $18,820. So basically, the district took prompt action and basically eliminated a substantial part of that debt to the hardware company. We also have directed in our order that by January 1st, Alliance and the district were to basically discuss with us and let us know going forward whether or not the district would need another rate increase. This is by the end of the year, let us know this, or whether or not substantial savings had been made to the point where perhaps we could consider decreasing the rates. One of the problems that, as everybody knows, that we had going into this rate process was that there had not been an audit since 2015. And so when the initial financial information was given to us in the rate case, it was several years old. And at that point in time, later, the district found out that the prior district commissioners apparently had lost or had not been able to, they found invoices that heretofore were unknown. So as a result, the rates they're paying are high, and we don't know at this point exactly how much money they need or will continue to need, because at the present rates they're still running substantial deficits every month. But Alliance has assured us that by sometime this fall, especially after the new audits, all of the audits are caught up in September, that they'll be in a better position to provide information that we can look at going forward in an attempt to help the ratepayers and at the same time keep the district solvent. And that's about all we have.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd be remiss if I didn't recognize Dr. Matthews, Commissioner at PSC's on the call today as well. Dr. Matthews, I didn't know if there was anything you wanted to add to that.
I don't. The chairman, as usual, did a great job.
As always. Well, thank you, Chairman Schmidt. Do we have any questions for the chairman? See any, I don't think.
I did want to add one thing to the chairman's comments. We were also able to get CI to take off their interest as well. They will be only charging us interest going forward any longer, and we will see some substantial savings on that account as well.
Okay, thank you. I don't see any questions. Does any caller who doesn't have the functionality chat have any questions? Okay, hearing none, we'll move on to our next speaker, which is Chairman Kerr. Jimmy, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Lyons, and thank you all for allowing me a chance to speak today. I just want to, I guess, say I went on vacation. I don't know, it's probably a month ago, and it was a time of reflection for me about what we'd been through with the water district and sanitation district in the county. And the realization that I came to, as much as I hate to say it, is it was basically the blind leading the blind. We worked incredibly hard to try to correct things the best that we could with the management we had in place at the time. But we weren't really that successful. I mean, we probably succeeded in keeping it out of receivership. But since Alliance has come on, I realize more and more every day how little we really knew. And how little we really knew what we were doing. And we had some good help at that time with Mr. Heitzman, but the day-to-day management of the system just was not up to par. Well, that has changed substantially. Very, very pleased with the work that Alliance is doing in the district. We've seen some, primarily with our employees, they are getting the training that none of them had never really received before. And they are, the comments that I'm getting from the employees themselves are, this is the best company I've ever worked for. We're actually getting taught how to do our job. And that's coming directly from the employees. So I can't rave really about Alliance enough. And, you know, the comment that I generally make is we have hard times ahead of us. Alliance has hard times. The board itself has hard times. And our community has hard times ahead. It's going to get a lot harder before it gets better, but it's getting better every day. I see incremental. We have small victories almost weekly, and we just continue to build upon those small victories. And I continue to believe that if left alone and allowed to do the work at hand, in 3 to 5 years, we're going to see a substantially different water and sanitation district. The audits will be complete sometime in the end of September. We had some news this past week that we hope holds and will be a very, very positive for the district and something that we hope we get to talk about at the next board meeting. But outside of that, I know that there are other districts out there that are probably in similar shape to us. And the one advice that I would give you guys to give them is to not be so stubborn. We in Eastern Kentucky tend to be tribal, and we don't want people from Frankfort coming in here and telling us how to do our business. But at the end of the day, the truth is what Alliance has provided for us was something that we did not have the expertise inside our own community to do. And we were so broken that it was going to take a team of people to fix our situation. And Alliance has done that we see people come in and out of our system from their other districts that they manage. And it's just been all positive as far as the board chair is concerned. And I know that my life has gotten a lot easier than it had been the previous 2 years, because I now get to act like an actual board chairman and not be involved in the day-to-day goings on of the district. And so I'm very appreciative. And again, the advice to the other districts is if this is something that you're considering, definitely take a hard look at it, because it has turned things around for us in a way that I couldn't have imagined. And again, just in closing, I go back to, we worked really, really hard for 2 years, but until Alliance got here and I actually saw how it was supposed to be done, I didn't realize how bad we were really feeling. And that's a little bit embarrassing to say, but it's the truth. And as I say, the blind were leading the blind, and we did the best that we could, but we are in very, very capable hands now. And we're hopefully getting ready to see some of this grant money that we received start, to be spent on our system. And that's just going to help us so much more going forward. And that's all I got.
Thank you, Jimmy. I don't see any chat questions. Does any caller have a question for Mr. Kerr? Don't see any or hear any, I guess I should say. Having said that, the department does follow the board activities. We get the minutes of every meeting, and I can tell you staff thoroughly review those minutes, and then we actually have a follow-up call with Alliance to go over some of the issue or some of the items in those minutes after every board meeting. So, and we actually, I think Alicia Jacobs actually either listens to a recording of the board or attends virtually herself. So we do pay attention, and we do appreciate the activities of the board and really the progression of it. Jimmy, obviously I have familiarity with the board and its workings from my time at the PSC, and we really appreciate the board's attention to these issues. Next on the agenda, we have Craig Miller with Alliance is going to give us an update of the operations. I think Craig's got a presentation that he's going to give. So Craig, take it away.
Thank you, Mr. Lyons. And can everyone see my presentation okay?
Yes.
First, I'd like to thank Chairman Kerr for his kind words about what Alliance is doing in the district right now. Certainly nice to hear. I appreciate that he's gaining confidence in our work every day. So we're going to start here, and you'll see that we'll talk a little bit about what we've accomplished, some things, goals going forward, and things that we found. See if we can get this to, there we go. So our key accomplishments to date: employee development, our quarterly goals, some priority issues, and then we'll have some discussion. Very similar to the last presentation, but just adding to it and showing you some more things that we've accomplished as we go forward. We talked last meeting about the 90-day goals, and 88% of our 90-day goals that we had set for the first quarter were achieved, 79% in the second quarter. A big one for that we'll talk about is this billing software that was purchased and implemented in July, which took a lot of effort from everyone in the office as well as the team out doing the meter reading. We have a picture here of one of the drying beds at the Inez wastewater plant that we actually were able to rebuild. Part of our 90-day goals for the second quarter was to accomplish rebuilding 2. We actually only were able to accomplish 1, but it's our goal to do the next one in this coming quarter. Once again, repairing the digester blockage at the Tug Valley plant and getting the sludge removed from there, emptying the sludge and rebuilding the sludge basin or the sludge drying bed at the Inez plant. It enabled us to be able to bring that sludge from the Tug Valley plant over to the Inez plant, which helped operations. Little things like safety for the employees, putting an eye wash station in the chemical building at the water plant to ensure that they are safe in the event of a spill of some type. And then a very big one was developing and implementing our theft of water SOP. As Mr. Lyons stated, when we go over the board packets on after each board meeting and we talk about what we're looking at and the issues that we're dealing with here in Martin County, we've talked many times about theft of water, and implementing that theft of water SOP has been very impactful in our operations. Employee development, we've had a lot of compliments from customers in our system and people that come in with how the employees are holding themselves when they're working in the roads and how they're flagging the roads properly now and how they're wearing reflective gear and wearing helmets when they're around heavy equipment. And once again, safety, something as simple as spill containment on all our chemical holding tanks to ensure that we don't have any spills. So those first quarter goals, we talked about the billing software purchased, having every meter read, doing those meter audits, repairing the oxidation ditch rotors. We've talked about grinder pumps. When we came on in January 1, we had over 31 grinder pumps that were out of service. Catching all of them up and then staying caught up on those grinder pumps, which is a very tall task. We have quite a few grinder pumps that go down on a weekly basis, so trying to continue to move forward with those. All the district-owned vehicles being inventoried with documentation, as well as Alliance Water Resources has actually supplied several vehicles from our fleet and other areas and brought them on board here to Martin County to boost operational efficiency, bringing them out here so that we can kind of maintain the fleet and keep all the operators or all of the distribution employees as well as our operators who need to leave the plant to check stations and the raw water intake and the reservoir. So that's been a very, very big help. So second quarter goals, one of them was newer hire licenses for 4 employees. We actually identified 6 employees. We've actually had them approved to take a distribution license, which is going to be great. We're excited about the opportunity for them. They're studying really hard. Next week they're going to go and they're going to take their test. Some of these guys have never done this before. They're nervous, but they're excited at the same time. And we're excited to be able to afford them the opportunity to progress in their careers as well as in their knowledge and water systems. Finding those cannot locate meters. We actually were investigating a pressure issue in a black log system, and while investigating that pressure, we were able to locate a meter in our system that's been missing for 5 years. So that was a big win. And then doing those ops audits, going out to each one of the stations, each one of the booster stations, each one of the tanks and towers, lift stations, plants, identifying needs and issues that we see, putting them on a list so that we can put priority numbers with how soon we can accomplish correcting those issues. Some things as simple as putting an identifier sign, a no trespassing sign, a public utility sign, so that people at least hopefully they'll read the sign and walk away. We talked about rebuilding the drying beds. On our water loss program, identifying area meters, identifying those meters that we can separate zones out and section off different portions of our distribution system so that we can find demand. And once we have identified demand, we can input that into our water loss program when we're doing leak detection. It's actually worked really well, specifically in the Turkey region where we've been able to monitor since we've implemented this. We've been able to monitor that region and establish that 65,000 gallons a day is what's sent there. Anytime that number increases, we know we have a leak, and we immediately go out and find it and correct it, which has been a great tool, and it's been a great lesson for the employees on how to properly leak detect. Installing 8 new valves, and then installing those cleanouts on Turkey Creek sewer line. Our third quarter goals, we have a scheduled meeting here this Friday for the staff. Our leadership team gets together. We spend about 4 hours together, and we talk about the goals that we need to set, the goals that we want to accomplish. We try to set achievable goals that we can accomplish, because we want to, our goal this quarter is 90% of those goals to be completed, and we're already in August, so we're going to have to really hunker down, but they're working really hard, and that's a good thing. So, water district priority issues, we still talk about that revenue, getting those financial audits complete and up to date. At the end of September, we actually had our auditors here 2 weeks ago with Ann Perkins, the Vice President of Finance from Alliance Water. They were all here. They did 3 or 4 days with working with our staff, going through all of the paperwork that they needed, and then took that information back with them to assist with completing those audits, which we are excited about having those complete. Accurate meter reading, and then of course that water loss program that we talked about. Priority issues, radio read meters, a total meter replacement has been identified as something that we really need. As we've been going through the new billing implementation, we found that there's 13 different types of meters in the system, about 5 different ways of reading those meters, and all of those had to be uploaded and entered into the software, and then of course reading those meters correctly and ensuring that we're getting proper billing. And then as well as water plant upgrades, which we have grant money allotted for, but getting those moving, something that we really are looking forward to. So those water plant priority needs, as you can see highlighted, the highlighted issues are addressed in the grant money that's been approved already. Refurbishing treatment unit 1, repairing those filter beds. We've also identified some other issues with the sludge removal, replacing all the online turbidity meters, which we've collected quotes on that, and we're talking about which turbidity meters we like and which ones we think would be most effective to use. New lab equipment, CL17, chlorine analyzer, turbidity meters. These things are out of date, some of them obsolete, getting those upgraded. And then chemical feed pumps, which those can get pricey, and they do wear out over time when they're running nonstop and you don't have any to replace or for redundancy. So at the wastewater plant, 9S, one of the clarifiers is completely out of operation with a lot of issues with the metalworks on the inside of that clarifier. We talked about the drying beds. We've completed one. We are halfway through with the second one, but that's our third quarter agenda, is to get the second one done. Maybe even more if we can make it work. Then the backup generator and those chemical feed lines. At the Tug Valley plants, automatic valves, SVR2, automatic blow valve, and then in the collection systems, all those lift stations need to have a minimum of 2 pumps for redundancy. And that's all I have for our update. Does anyone have any questions?
Hi, Craig.
Go ahead, Tammy.
Okay, I'm sorry, John. There were a couple of questions that came through the chat line. The first one was, can you tell us a little more about the theft of water issues How many have been referred for prosecution? And is there any evidence of how much water is being stolen?
So thank you for that question. Actually, since implementation of that, we've had 6 theft of waters sent for prosecution. As far as quantifying how much water was stolen, that's actually been a subject of discussion. We've actually discussed it quite a bit in our technical subcommittee. We've discussed it among several people in regards to how do we identify what that use is. I think in our technical subcommittee we discussed 4,000 gallons a minimum use monthly. When you have a customer that doesn't have a meter in the ground, how do you know, there's no way to really know how much is stolen. And my statement was, if a person is willing to steal water, they're probably going to steal more than they steal less. But I think that it was agreed upon in our technical subcommittee that 4,000 gallons was a good number to use. But we had one customer that was sent in for prosecution that had a water hose running from their house to a dog bowl, and it was wide open, and it was running nonstop with, and it was, the water hose was, the actual valve on the hose was broken, so it couldn't be turned off. So you can actually do calculations based on the size of the hose and the flow to at least, right then and there how much water is flowing through that hose. So that's a lot of water. That's a lot of use. And but to be able to say exactly how much, that's hard to do. Case by case basis, I would say.
Thank you, Craig. There was also a second question, and it looks like the multi-customer meters is on your second quarter completed goals. How many new customers has this added? Have you managed the very high meter charge of $1,000 for these customers?
So the multiple customer use, what we did with the multiple use customers is we had a list that was in the office prior of customers that had come that were identified as customers with multiple homes on one tap. Those customers had already come in and either said they wanted to pay or were willing to pay to have a meter set put in. Those customers were reached out to, they were identified, and they've paid the tap fee, and then we've put the tap into the ground. Well, that does not mean that we have found every single home in the county that's on multiple taps. That was just a list that we had, and I don't have the exact number in front of me to answer that question. But I think it's somewhere around 10 customers, but I'm not 100% certain on how many that was.
And the second part of the question was, how have you managed the high meter charges for these customers?
Well, the customers that were identified, that it wasn't an issue. They've paid the meter tap fees, and we've installed the taps.
Okay.
I don't know if that was the specific question or not. It was a mention of $1,000 for these customers. Is that something?
$1,000 is the tap fee.
Oh, okay. I got you.
That is the tap fee that Martin County Water District had established in their tariff before Alliance partnered with them.
Gotcha. Okay. That's in the tariff then. Okay.
Correct.
Thank you for that clarification. We received another question through the chat, and what is the current water loss trend?
So the current water loss trend, a couple of months ago, I talked earlier about the Turkey region. We established originally there was about 135,000 gallons a day going through the Turkey area. We fixed 3 or 4 very large leaks, brought that down to 65,000 gallons a day, fixed a lot of leaks. And in that month, at the end of that month, we saw a water loss reduction to 66% based on the information that we had. Then in the month of June, we had a lot of water leaks, a lot of leaks. And in our effort to fight all of those leaks, water loss crept back up to 70%. And then for this month, with the implementation of our new billing software, we're still going through some calculations. We're still trying to identify some numbers, but trends are going down.
Craig, for a little additional information, in the board packets that you all provide, you have a listing of the leaks that you all find and fix, and the volume of those leaks are calculated based on Kentucky Rural Water calculations. Is that correct?
So yes, in the board packet, that's correct. We actually put we identify every leak monthly, and then we do calculate the usage, and then we put that in our water loss calculation. We use the PSC form, so the line breaks that we actually identify on a monthly basis, we put on the form, and then on that form as well, which is in our board packet every month, you'll see a line that says line leaks. And that line leaks line is what we actually use. We call it unaccounted for water, really, because we don't know where that water's gone or what it is, where it's at. We just know that it's not gone through a meter, but it came out of the plant. Does that answer your question, John?
Well, I guess my question wasn't very clear. I was talking about the calculation of the leak itself, how much volume of water was lost in the leak. You all use a water calculation to
yes, correct. So actually, we do. So Kentucky Rural Water was kind enough to give us a form that they had already made that actually has formulas in it. It's an Excel spreadsheet. It has formulas locked into the system that our distribution supervisor, when he goes in to enter each leak, he can just put in the size of the pipe, the size of the crack, and the amount of time that we believe that the leak has been happening. If it was, sometimes we can tell that, we know if a customer calls with low water pressure, and we find a water leak, we know that water leak happened within the past X number of hours, depending on how long it took us to find the leak from the time the customer called, right? So we can quantify and identify that down to a pretty good number of hours, and give us a really hard number. But sometimes we don't always know how long that leak has been going. So then you have to make kind of an estimation on days of how many days it leaked. But the fact doesn't change that we measure the size of the crack, and then with measuring that, we're able to calculate the usage.
Yeah. And thank you for that, Craig. I thought it was important for on the call to know that you all are tracking that specifically by leak. And in some cases, it's a tremendous volume of water, and you really don't know exactly how long that leak may have been going on. So it could be a greater volume than you even realize. And I think the last figures I saw, it may have been for the month of June, but it was well over 2 million gallons just from the leaks that you all identified and fixed.
Correct. And I believe that actually for the month of July, the numbers that I saw were in a neighborhood of 2.6 million gallons of water.
Right. Okay. There's no other chat questions, I believe. Do any of the callers have questions for Craig?
John, I've got, this is Ben. I just, real quick, Craig, I just want to make sure I'm understanding something. There's approximately how many customers? 3,800? Is that correct?
Approximately 3,500.
3,500. And we had talked about, it seems like water loss is one of the main issues here, but if you still got old meters and they're not and I'm hearing what you told me, and that kind of took me by surprise that you had so many different meters. And obviously there's still people that's got straight connections in out there. But let's just consider the metering just a second. What kind of a water loss would that be if you've got these slow old meters that you're pumping out of your plant at a certain amount of water per month, but if that meter is only registering maybe half of what's actually going through the meters to the homes, and they're getting 2,000 billed for 2,000, and they might have actually used 5,000. How's that considered as part of, you know, your old metering as far as water loss goes? Do you consider that still a major part of your water loss right now, the lack of good metering?
Well, Mr. Hale, that's the half, 50%, I would think that would be a very large number of inaccuracy. But I can't speculate on the accuracy of every meter. We do test meters. We have the ability to test the accuracy of the meters in our plant now. Several months ago, we got the meter, the test bench calibrated, and so we're able to check them. And as long as that they're within specifications that are outlined by the PSC and Division of Water, then we use them in our system. Now, that's not to say we pull every meter and we can check them all the time, because we can't. But we do recognize that there is an issue with the accuracy of meters, and putting in new meters that can read at a much more accurate rate of water, because as technology increases, water, meters can read down to a half a gallon. And so as technology increases and the accuracy of meters increases, obviously replacing old meters that have been in your system in excess of 10 years is going to increase your consumption.
Thank you, Craig.
Okay, if there's no other questions for Craig, we'll move on to the next presentation. We've got Steve Cottle with Bell Engineering that's going to give us an update on all the projects. I think those are moving along pretty well. Look forward to Steve's update. So, Steve?
Thank you, Mr. Lyons. Probably the best place to start is just again with a quick reminder of where the funding is coming from. The funding for the projects in Martin County consists of an AML Pilot Nexus grant from the 2017 cycle in the amount of $3,450,000, a COE 531 partnership in the amount of $1,869,718, an ARC grant in the amount of $1,200,000, an AML Pilot Nexus grant from the 2018 funding cycle in the amount of $2 million. And since we met last time, there's also been some funding made available from the Kentucky Transportation Cabinet as part of their Bridge in Kentucky program to replace the water crossing at Willis Dial, Stans Branch Road. The portion that they've appropriated, which is adequate to do the job, is $38,357. As you can see, this is a map just showing the various projects and how they're scattered throughout the county. One thing I would note here is that there's work going on almost everywhere in the county as part of one of these projects. So as they come online, that should provide assistance to the entire system. Now talking about the contracts themselves, we'll start with contract 113-1901. That contract consisted of the purchase of a new 2 million and a new 4 million gallon per day raw water intake pump with variable speed drives both, and a new 4,000 gallon per minute river screen. The budget, $601,200. Funding was provided by Band of Minelands through their 2017 Nexus grant design, bidding, and fabrication of those pumps and river screen are all complete. The Martin County Water District was alluded to earlier, is currently utilizing the 2 million gallon per day pump, and the 4 million gallon per day pump will be placed in service upon completion of contract 1902. And contract 1902 consists of improvements actually at the raw water intake and the water treatment plant. At the raw water intake, the concrete ramp and winch system is being implemented for moving raw water pumps up and down the slope. We're upgrading the electrical building to handle the larger pump. The project will include telemetry so that these pumps can be controlled from the water plant, along with line reactors and instrumentation. As Craig alluded to, work at the water treatment plant will include rehabilitation of clarifiers 1 and 3 with a new valve vault for clarifier 1. We're also replacing the outside chlorine chemical feed piping, and that should help with disinfection byproducts, and replacing the roof on the chemical storage building. The master meter there at the plant itself will also be replaced, and generators will be installed in order to give backup power during emergencies. The budget for the project's a little over $3 million, funding being provided by both Abandoned Mine Lands and the Army Corps of Engineers. Status of that project: the Division Water construction permit was issued on June 3rd. The Corps of Engineers application for Department of Army permit was issued on June the 8th. AML authorization to proceed was granted on July 31st. The project's currently undergoing the Corps of Engineers NEPA compliance review. They advertised for public comment on August the 4th, and that advertisement period will end on September the 4th. We're anticipating the Corps issuing a finding of no significant impact. That issuance we're anticipating in mid-September. At that point, we should be able to advertise the project for bids with an anticipated bid opening date around mid-October. Assuming everything comes in as anticipated, then it would be on the agenda for the Martin County Water District's late October meeting to award the project. After the project's awarded, then it will take a few weeks to get the contractors' bonds, get their shop drawings and review them, sign the contracts, and then we're anticipating commencement of construction in early December. This is a 365-day contract, so construction will not be completed until late 2021. The second project is very much tied, or I'm sorry, the contract 03 is very much tied to contract 02. They have the same funding sources. It's just that contract 02 deals with work at the plant and the intake. This is mainline replacement, also the replacement of service line and existing meters in the Warfield area. They were separated into two contracts just because of the different types of work. Total project budget of $1,260,000, and again, funding provided by Abandoned Mine Lands and the Corps of Engineers. The status of that project: Division Water construction permit was issued on April 27th. The KYTC encroachment permit was issued on May 13th. The Division Water permit to construct along or across a stream was issued on June 17th. And AML authorization to proceed was granted on the 31st of July. As we discussed, this project is moving along with the raw water intake and water treatment plant project. It is also undergoing Corps of Engineers NEPA compliance review currently. Again, we anticipate the FONSI being issued in mid-September for this project, which will lead us, just as with the previous project we discussed, to an anticipated start of construction in early December of 2020. However, this is a 130-day contract, so we would anticipate construction being completed in the spring of 2021. Next project's contract 1904. This is mainline, service line, and meter replacement in the Lovely area. The budget of $1.2 million from Appalachian Regional Commission. The Division of Water construction permit was issued on April 27th. and KYTC encroachment permit was issued on April 24th. Project's been bid. We received bids on May 29th with Boca Enterprises submitting the low bid. Actually, the bid that they submitted was very good, very low, and it enabled us to entertain the possibility of doing some additional work. So there was some negotiation with ARC between the ad, ourselves, and, as we said, the Appalachian Regional Commission, and they're allowing us to essentially almost double the work that was included in the original project. The district subsequently awarded that project to Boca Enterprises. We had to negotiate the additional time to do the additional work. They have those contracts and are signing them. As soon as we get those contracts back, we'll send them to the district so they can be executed, and then we can schedule a pre-construction meeting and issue a notice to proceed. We're anticipating that construction on that project should start later this month. Next project is 1905 and 1906. That's water improvements at the United States Penitentiary, Big Sandy, Eastern Kentucky Business Park, and Big Sandy Airport. Consists of construction of a new 250,000-gallon water storage tank and a new 400,000-gallon per minute pump station with telemetry for both. We'll be upgrading the existing Davala pump station and adding a master meter and booster chlorination. The budget is $2 million on that project and the funding is being provided through the 2018 Nexus grant through the Abandoned Minelands program. The selected site for the tank, we have learned, cannot be used for a variety of reasons. Therefore, we're currently evaluating a couple of potential new sites. As soon as we're able to lock one of those sites down, we'll go ahead and finish with geotech and finish design, and then go ahead and submit that project to Division of Water. The next project's 1901. That's telemetry at the high school water storage tank and booster pump station. That project has a budget of $65,000, and funding is being provided by the Martin County Fiscal Court. Design, bidding, award, and materials fabrication are all complete. All the equipment has been installed. However, we're waiting on the startup of equipment, and that probably is still a couple of weeks out. But at that point, Craig and his team will be able to control this tank and this pump station without having to go out there every day and do it manually. Another project, this is a utility relocation, Dan's Branch, Willis Dials Road. Basically, this is just a relocation of the water line across a stream crossing to facilitate construction of a new bridge for the Transportation Cabinet's Bridge and Construction Program. The budget's $38,357 with funding being provided by the Kentucky Transportation Cabinet. This project was submitted to the Division of Water for approval on July 21st. As soon as we get that approval back, then the project already has a contractor attached to it, and the contractor will be able to start work. Two other utility relocation projects are contracts 2002 and 2003. That's the Hunters Lane and Rockhouse Creek utility relocations. These upgrades include, again, relocating some water line to facilitate bridge construction. There's no budget attached to these projects yet, although they will be funded by KYTC. The reason being is due to funding concerns, these two relocations will not occur until the summer of 2021. Lastly, the hydraulic model. This is the preparation and calibration of a hydraulic model so that we can evaluate the operation of Martin County's system, look at things that can help make the system operate better, look where we might need to increase pressure or decrease pressure. The status of that, the lines, tanks, and PRVs have all been input to the model, and the location of those entities have been field verified. Line sizes have been field verified to the greatest extent possible. All of the usage data has been entered into the model and has been distributed across the system. We're currently analyzing the pressure zones. We have a working model. However, it's undergoing calibration by field collected data. and also we'll be checking it against field observations. And with that, that's all I have. We'd be happy to entertain any discussion or answer any questions.
Hey, Mr. Cottle, this is Paul Miller.
Hey, Paul.
Is there any hold up on any permits or?
I don't believe so at this point, Paul.
Okay.
I checked on the one that we submitted on the 21st of July for the utility relocation, and I believe that one's been sent up for final review and permit issuance. So I think we're in good shape on those. We appreciate all your help and Tammy's help also in pushing these through.
Thank you. Appreciate you.
I don't see any chat questions. Does any caller have any questions for Steve? Okay, I have a question, maybe better directed, Steve, to Paul or Jory. It's just to get an idea of the expenditures being put out there for Martin County for similarly sized systems. How does the expenditures on Martin County compare to other ones of similar size? Jory, would you know that? I mean, we're talking over nearly $9 million. I mean, I'm somewhat familiar with KIA projects, having attended board meetings over there, but I would venture to say that there's probably more money being spent on Martin County than most other similar sized systems. Would that be a correct statement?
You're correct. You're correct, Deputy Commissioner. You're correct. And I don't believe, and Jory can speak more to it, I don't believe they are under any KIA loans at this point, pending audits. So, Jory, you want to add anything?
No, I would guess I would just reiterate what you just said. I mean, I'm not aware of that level of expenditure to projects in communities like this size. No.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Steve. Appreciate your presentation. A lot going on, certainly. Next on the agenda, we have Director Paul Miller, who's going to give you a presentation about our newest endeavor in this project with Martin County, and it's the technical subcommittee that we formed. It's a brain trust of a lot of good minds studying the technical issues and trying to determine what needs to be done in the future and how we can tackle these things. So Paul's got a presentation to kind of introduce everybody to that subcommittee and the work they've been doing. So, Paul?
Thank you, Deputy Commissioner. And thank you, Madam Secretary. So, yes, we've developed a technical subcommittee, and those members consist of myself, Kent Chandler, Vice Chairman, Public Service Commission, Craig Miller, cousin Craig, as I like to call him. There's no relationship there, so nobody believe there's anything. General Manager, Alliance Water Resource, Dr. Lyndall Ormsby, University of Kentucky, Gary Larimore, Director of Kentucky Rural Water Association, and Ben Hale, Executive Director of Big Sandy Area Development. We also have some supporting staff from DEP, Deputy Commissioner John Lyons. From the Division of Water, we've got Assistant Director Carrie Johnson, Tammy Hudson, Alicia Jacobs, and Joy Becker, and also from Kentucky Rural Water, Joe Burns. And I want to thank all these guys for volunteering their time and their resources. There's a lot of experience here, a lot of knowledge, so this is a good group. So we were focusing on water loss, of course. We got huge water loss there in Martin County. So water loss and failing infrastructure are nationwide issues. The average water loss for a drinking water system in Kentucky is 24%. It's an average estimate. Martin County Water District reports an average of 70% water loss. That's been pretty consistent for the past 7 months with the lines. A water system in rural Kentucky produces a monthly average of 20 million gallons for a population of approximately 9,000 people. Martin County Water District produces an average of 52.5 million gallons per month and sells 14.6 million gallons. Every gallon produced costs money to treat and pump. Causes of water loss. So, causes of water loss is that we see as operational, managerial, financial difficulties. Operation difficulties include line breaks, water theft, excessive or varying pipe pressure, inconsistent and daily tasks, insufficient maintenance, updated operating procedures. Managerial concerns, faulty and failing infrastructure, inadequate planning for longevity, lack of properly trained staff. Financial struggles, poor billing system, excessive debt, disproportionate operating costs, shortage of funds, which Alliance is really on top of these things in the past 7 months. So the effects of a water loss on a distribution system: increased production costs, more money in electricity, more money in chemicals, more money in personnel, maintenance, repair, replacement of equipment. You got lost revenue, inaccurate meters, which we know that to be true, misread meters, Alliance is on top of that, billing system errors, and we've talked about that in our subcommittee. Next. So the immediate and ongoing actions. Administrative improvements, keeping and retaining reliable records, converting billing software and training employees on use, regularly and uniformly assessing fees, informing public and utility changes that impact them, update website to enhance customer relationships. Operational improvements, training and educating employees on proper maintenance and repair, locating and mapping lines, meters, and leaks, we're on top of that, creating consistency in processes such as meter reading, doing better at that, using standard operating procedures, conducting a vulnerability assessment and emergency plan, prosecuting for water theft, and that's taking place as we speak. Next slide, please. So here are some pictures of water theft. It's pretty ingenious. It's kind of part of the culture back in that area. Jumper connections, stolen meters. Next slide. So long-term actions: improve revenue and available funds, reduce water loss, which reduces excessive treatment and unused water, require more training for operators, evaluate spending and operational cost, implement assets management plan, understand the distribution system, develop a 5-year construction improvement plan, replace and improve infrastructure, purchase more leak detection and equipment and utilize appropriately. Rural Water has really helped out with that. Purchase equipment for distribution and repair crew. Also Rural Water helping out. Implement paperless workflow tracking. Install and use radio read meters. So here's a map of kind of line breaks, and we are mapping. I don't know that you can see it, but the red triangle. We are mapping ongoing the water breaks in the system, and we're doing that weekly. Tammy and some of the GIs are helping present this map or keep it up to date. Okay, next slide, please. All right, I'm going to turn this over to Dr. Ormsby for the hydraulic model.
All right, thanks, Paul. Just to give you an update on some of the modeling, Steve's already talked a little bit about some of the activities that Bell have been engaged with. At the University of Kentucky, we've been working with Martin County for the last couple of years, and one of the things we've been trying to assist them with is a better understanding of how the system is actually operating by way of understanding the hydraulics, and then using that to better understand how water quality is impacted across the system. So we actually have two different modeling efforts underway. Bell Engineers is currently developing a model for use in evaluating upgrades to the system, as Stephen talked about briefly before. And then we're also developing our own model that we've got a little different focus for that. Mainly, we're looking at better understanding operations with a goal to understand how the water quality of the system is impacted by different operational strategies, being able to predict what chlorine residuals might be across the system, or we may have some water age problems. And then also we're looking at trying to understand the possibility of pressure transients through the system, where you have a pump shutting down or a valve suddenly closing that can induce even higher pressures on a system that's already under a lot of stress that can cause or contribute to pipe breaks. And so in both cases, we do have models that are basically up and running, but as Stephen alluded to, the models are not quite ready for operational applications. There's still a few things we're trying to track down to make sure that what is in the model is actually in the field, although in both cases, we've done a lot of work in the last month or so, and I think we both feel pretty confident that we have a good understanding of the actual infrastructure. And then we are also talking back and forth at Bell and UK about each of our models. And so we're using some software to analyze the distribution system that was developed at UK back in the 70s. The software is called KY Pipe. It's one of the more widely used softwares in the world. And so we were also involved in the development of that software. So we know that very intimately. Some of the future work that we're working on, as Steve talked about, was continuing to validate the model and then also to calibrate the model. What that means is that we go out and collect data from the field, we run the model, and then see if the model is replicating the results that we're observing in the field, such as pressures or how tanks are filling or draining or flows in different meters and so on. So that model will be used to help us better understand the operations of the system and can be used to check for different design projects to see how they might impact the system. And then we also hope that the model will be able to help us identify where we may have problem areas, such as where the water is older and we may have potential for developing lower chlorine values. We can also look at the potential development of disinfectant byproducts and so on. So in addition to this hydraulic model, one of the things that at UK we've also been working at is trying to get a better sort of conceptual model of the system that could be used to help train the local staff and also better understand the operations. So if you bring up the next slide, this is a conceptual model that we've been able to build to kind of describe how the system is operating. As you can see, this is quite a complex diagram which reflects the complexity of the Martin County system. The little blue boxes represent different pressure areas or different meter areas. The circles, like with P11, those are pumps or pump stations. The green triangles represent the locations of PRVs or pressure regulating valves, where the pressure is being decreased from one zone to the next. And then we've also shown with the triangles, the diamonds, some of the major meters in the area. But this then gives you a sort of a overall picture of how the system is operating. And so you can see if you're in a particular area, where the flow for that area is actually coming from, which valves or PRVs or pumps that are operating on that system. And so we hope this will be able to help the operators get a better sense if they're having a low pressure problem, for example, in a given zone, what might be contributing to that, or if they're seeing a drop in tank level, as Craig alluded to before, this will be able to help us figure out maybe what could be contributing to that or help isolate different water losses. So we've interfaced quite a bit with Craig and Alliance, and so we're optimistic that this diagram will kind of help their operations and looking at planning and maybe even changing operations to improve efficiencies as necessary. And then one of the other things that we're looking at is trying to develop sort of a simplified model like this that we could either build in KY Pipe or actually potentially in some other software, so that the operators could have a sort of simplified model of this sort of more global scale to help them kind of improve the operations of the system. So that's just a couple of things that we've been working on. And also, like I said, we've been partnering closely with Bell Engineers and also with Alliance and their staff as we're trying to move forward to get a better understanding of how the system is operating so that we can better improve the operations. And I think those are my 2 slides, Paul.
Those are. Thanks, Dr. Horsby. So the next steps for distribution system: continue locate, mapping, and repairing leaks. Finalize hydraulic model. Review ongoing construction projects and their impact on the distribution system. Use hydraulic model to identify and prioritize future projects. Determine solutions based on cost and the standard industry practices. And so in closing comments, I really want to stress that Governor Beshear and Secretary Goodman, this is a high priority to us. And it's not the only system out there that's hurting, but it's one of the majors. It gets a lot of attention. And what's happened in the present, I mean, or in the past, we can't go back to the past. We got to deal with the now and make baby steps or long strides towards the future. And with the resources that Kentucky Rural Water, UK, and Alliance, the Division of Water, and all those others, Bell Engineering, AML, we're on our way towards that. So in closing, and Mr. Hale, I hate to leave you out there, Uncle Ben. Again, no relationship, but I like Uncle Ben. So with that, entertain any questions. Unless anybody in the committee would like to add anything at this point. Okay.
Okay, thanks, Paul. Obviously, folks, I think you can see by the presentations today just how high of a hurdle this is and what we're dealing with. But the subcommittee obviously epitomizes the forethought of what we got to do in the future to keep this system going and to remedy some of the problems that have been going on for years. It takes this kind of forethought to keep a system going like this. You just can't, the projects that Steve talked about, we can implement all those things, but if we don't sustain the maintenance of this, the operation of this, the financial of it going forward, it'll all be for naught in a few years. And we've still got a long way to go. So I really appreciate the work of the subcommittee and the thought that they put into this. And I think you can see from the presentation how many items that they have thought about in this. And I really appreciate their work and their commitment to meet as much as they have to give you the presentation they did today. I don't see any chat questions. Oh, maybe we have more.
I believe there's one, John. I think it was, the request is, or the question is, can this committee help analyze for other AML pilot projects?
I'd be happy to.
Yeah, I think the short answer is yes, so we can certainly do that. So. Okay, any other questions, Tammy? I don't think so, are there? Any caller questions for the subcommittee? Okay, hearing none, we're moving on along perfectly on our agenda. And so next on the agenda, Ms. McCoy, Ms. Cromer, do you all from the citizens side want to make any remarks today?
This is Nina, and I'd like to say a few things. First
Sure.
of all, I do always want to give my thanks for the help that we have gotten, and Public Service Commission, the governor, Vision of Water, Alliance. I mean, honestly, when Alliance offered to take this on, I thought, oh my, they have a Jesus complex or something, because this is a rough one. And unlike Mr. Kerr there, the rest of us in the county did know that there was a problem. And I think that got proven in the results of our water testing. Part of the water testing results was, what problems have you had? And, we went out, we probably had visited 400 homes and got 97 participants, all randomly selected. And those were people who just told us what they thought and what was going on, as well as let us test their water. Well, 99% of those had some type of issue with the water. So I think that goes to show that we knew there was a problem. The water testing itself showed that 47% of the homes had some type of non-compliance with the Safe Drinking Water Act. 35% were above the levels for disinfection byproducts. 13% for coliform. This is one of the things that our community has worried about ever since we've been in compliance, because people pay attention to things like when you say, oh, well, now you only have to test in 2 locations 4 times a year instead of 4 locations 4 times a year. Well, if we had 35% of those homes having out of compliance, then that obviously makes us wonder why we got to be in only 2 locations. They said that it was because our number of population had gone below 10,000, but everything I've seen has not shown that. But anyway, so that's one of the things that we got to work on, is trust. All those tests that were done before Alliance took over. So there's no way we're saying, oh, this is Alliance, they're not helping, because that was all before Alliance. We'd like to see how much it improves with Alliance. That's great. I mean, honestly, we were glad to have the technical expertise of Alliance. We were very worried about us being able to afford it, but oh, thank God that we got some technical expertise, because again, sorry, Mr. Kerr, but we knew there was a problem up there, out here. And then that also makes me want to go to the fact of how Alliance has taught the workers how to fix the system. But sometimes I worry, have the workers taught Alliance how to feel about the customers? Because we have had reports of pressure issues where they got the old treatment of, no, you didn't have pressure issues, until we tried to make it public. Higher water bills this month. People are saying they're getting crazy high water bills, and they're just being told, oh, you're wrong. Water loss. I mean, we get from the water district, oh, well, probably most of that is water theft. If that were true and half of that was water theft, that means you don't have 3,000 customers, you have 6,000 customers. There's no way. We don't have a population that's doubled. And then, questions at the meetings. When the new water board took over, we were so glad that they were trying to show transparency. and they allowed questions at the meeting. Now that's been stopped. So it's like you have to, this is not going to be easy to gain public trust. It's going to take a while, and one of the things it's going to take is transparency, bending over backwards. Don't talk about, oh, we know we don't want anybody to be stealing water. But when you're talking to a customer that you know has paid their bills, and you're acting like you can disregard what they have to say, that is wrong. And then the last, and another thing about that is I don't think we should have open meetings in a pandemic, because that definitely squanders the rights of people who are afraid for their health to show up. The last thing, I know that we've been talking about how much money we're getting in here, but one of the things that we're getting is $2 million, supposedly to try to help us to get water safely to the prison. Now, as I understand it, there is a company in here known as Inez Power, which goes under the name of Recycling Solutions Technology. And the old woman in the room knows those people. We found out 20 years ago that they wanted to put a trash incinerator in here, and we were able to go to public meetings where we took students and environmental club people and said, what are you doing here? And we had legislators downstate, Dan Kelly, trying to make it so that if you put this waste gasification plant in, it doesn't have to meet any EPA standards. Now, I don't know what this legislature has agreed to, but this is a worry for our community. And if you're saying 1/4 of all those grants, $2 million, is going to make sure that they get water, that's a little scary to us, because they've tried for 20 years. We want to make sure that the money gets spent. If the prison can give us a good source of income, great. Maybe this company can give us a source of income, but let's not waste that money on something that may or may not work. And I just want everybody to be aware of that. Any questions?
Thank you, Nina. Mary, did you want to speak as well? I think you were muted for a second.
Am I still muted? Can you hear me?
No, we can hear you.
Okay, great. I think Nina did a great job. I just want to sort of highlight one point, which is respect for the customers. I think that trust is one of the biggest issues with the Martin County Water District, and it's trust in the water district and trust that the water is safe to drink. And that's going to take a long time to repair. And that repair requires that customers be treated at every moment with respect, especially when they're calling in for complaints. And I hope that Alliance will hear that, and I hope that the customers will be treated better than it sounds like they have been in the recent months.
Thank you, Mary. I did want to address a couple of things regarding the testing sites, Nina, for the disinfection byproducts. That is dictated by the Safe Drinking Water Act, but we are taking a look at that based on the information your all study provided to see if there's something more that we need to do there. It's obviously very interesting, and if not concerning, obviously. But that is dictated by the Safe Drinking Water Act. It is based on population. Right or wrong, that's what the Division of Water has gone by for all these years and for all these other systems as well. But it doesn't mean we should turn a blind eye to that just because that's what the regulation says. And we'll be looking as we evaluate the study that UK did for you guys and the results there. Some of the other items like theft of water, that's a good observation. I think the fact of the matter is we just still don't know, as Craig said, how much water is being stolen. They find things frequently and try to rectify those things by eliminating the theft. And I'd say that the individuals being prosecuted currently are the first ones to ever be prosecuted in Martin County for water theft, if I had to guess. So I think we are making headway in those areas. I'm really interested in the Ina's power observation. I know who you're talking about. I was actually on that site probably 20 years ago. And I know that they had asked for water. I know they've gone through a permitting process with the Division of Air Quality. So I don't know the connection to the water and the grant you're talking about for the prison, though. That's a little.
Let me answer that, John. I think the main thing is, Nina, on this is that is to correct for the prison, and where Martin County was able to supply water to the main tank. I'm sure one of the engineers can clarify that. But that money is mainly to take care of the Davila area, and as well as making sure that they are able to sell to the prison and get that income that which was designed back when I was judge back in the late 90s. It was supposed to be 50% from Martin County and 50% from Prestonburg, and you had redundancy built into it for the prison, because that was one of the key components for the prison to be here, not to be out of water. And what had happened as years went by, Nina, that it basically, Martin County was not getting any revenue hardly whatsoever from it, because they were having problems with numerous things that was coming down through there, but was not really pumping into that tank that the prison was able to draw from, as well as the industrial site, or Big Sandy Regional Industrial Business Park. So that is to correct a lot of that and to help Martin County Water and Martin Countyans to be able to get some revenue from that. As far as the RST, I don't think that they're going to be a major a user of water. I don't think it has, if they might have water now, I'm not for sure. And but that gasification plant is not an incinerator; it's a gasification, and it's new technology, and I think what John was referring to back years ago, but it's completely been redone, and it's state of the art. And but that's not the reason why the main water, Nina, is being done. I'm pretty sure Craig might be able to talk to that too, but I think that's mainly to get water into the tank, and the main tank that is up there on site that supplies the prison. Am I not correct on that, Craig? Or Kelly or anybody there?
Yeah,
Go ahead, Steve.
Yes, you are correct. The project out in the Davila area is basically, there is a single pump station that pumps from the valley all the way up to the tank at the industrial park. And that pump station has at times created pressures in the 300 and, as much as I understand it, 380 PSI range. Well, the pipe is only rated for 350 PSI. So the reason the project was drawn up was to break that into two pressure zones so that the pipe only fills about half that pressure. So we could drop it down. Basically, we'll pump it up to one tank, and then we'll pump it to another one to get it on up to the industrial park. So I know Craig's had some leaks out there, and you can imagine when you have 350 to 380 PSI, when you have a leak, what it looks like. It looks like a geyser spraying out on the road there. And the issue with the site itself, the tank site, that was unrelated to Inez Power. The issue with the tank site is that because this is AML Nexus money, it's a requirement that AML Nexus money cannot use, no money can be spent on a site that has not been fully bond released by a coal company. And the site we were looking at, unfortunately, is in a phase 1 release, and it'll be several years before it would be in a phase 3 release. But I think we've got some good, strong possibilities. And actually, from an operations standpoint, I know Craig and I have talked about it. I think by spacing the tanks out a little better, I think we'll have better water quality also.
I forgot to thank Bill for coming on board. That is another, I think, positive for our county. But at the same time, I think that all of this, just like that, getting water to the prison was done incorrectly by a previous engineering group. And all of this is why we're not going to just leave you alone, because we know we have to keep an eye on everything. I mean, it's what a democracy is all about. So we're still in this, and we're on your side, Alliance, Bell, Water Board. Just keep us in the loop is all we want to say.
That's fair enough, Dean, and we intend to do that. That's why you're a part of this group, and it's an important part, as we all know. I missed allowing Tony Sneed to have a couple of minutes to say something after Craig's presentation. And Tony, I apologize for that. So please give us your remarks.
Thank you, John. I just wanted to take a second to respond to Nina's comments, and I appreciate and understand her position, where she's coming from. And trust me, Alliance is dedicated to doing everything the right way. And it takes a while to turn the culture around for all the employees. It really will take a while. It doesn't happen overnight. But when we get customer complaints, if they make it all the way up to our corporate office, they're directed to come directly to me. And we are trying to get everybody to handle each complaint individually and let go the last person that came in and start fresh with each person, because everybody deserves respect. That doesn't mean that we will always be able to give the answer that the person wants to hear. And we recognize that this transition billing software has caused some issues that we're trying to make sure we have the correct answer before we put it out. And there will still be human errors until we go to all radio read with transposing the meter reading from the meter reading to the software. But in no way is Alliance going to drop their guard with realizing that we work for the customers in that community, and this has been a difficult situation, and we'll continue to get better at that. And everybody on the Martin County Concerned Citizens Committee knows they can pick up my phone number and call me anytime when there's something, and I will answer. I mean, I keep that thing on me all the time. It's like part of me. And I know Craig feels the same way. So I appreciate Nina's comments. They did not fall on deaf ears, and we will continue to get better in that area. And I also appreciate the job that everybody else is doing. It's great when Craig can say, I'm working with a committee that's outside our company. That really helps us, and we feel supported. And I too, like Craig and Jimmy, think that in 3 years, this will be a different utility, a model utility. So thank you.
I agree with you, Tony, and just give us some time. Y'all have done a lot in the 7 months.
Thank you, Tony. We're running a little long here. I do want to give Ben Hale a minute to speak from the ad district standpoint. Ben, do you have any remarks you want to make?
I really, John, it's just we've got a lot going on, and most of it is Martin County. There, just to kind of reiterate some of the things that Paul talked about. This is very important for just not the concerned citizens. It's important to the governor and other people that want to make sure that this does get corrected. But to kind of talk about how we got to this, I'm kind of like Paul. It took years to get into this situation. It's going to take some time, and I want people to be patient, but we got to make sure the water quality is there, and I think they're working on that now, and they're trying. We've got good engineers. We've got Alliance that's done an excellent job. It's just going to take some time. We will keep trying, and we will keep applying for grant monies to get you all back where you do have some. Nina, I'm speaking to you and your concerned citizens, where you do have some confidence with your water quality. I think that is key. I agree with you 1000%. When you turn that faucet on, you want potable water. And that's what we've been working on for years. Here in Eastern Kentucky, we had so much time and lack of water potency that we tried. And we did throw a lot of severance tax money at this situation. And we did have a lot of different engineering groups that we probably, our water commissions didn't quite have good cohesiveness in planning. We know that. But we are right now, we're at a situation where we're trying to correct these problems. And money does take care of a lot of things. And we are trying to address the Martin County situation in a quick manner, but it takes time. It didn't take a little time to get in this situation. It took a lot of years and a lot of piecemealing of the water, the distribution. Now we're trying, and we've got some good expertise. You all have good expertise, and Craig and Alliance and Jimmy is doing a heck of a job of making sure that they're finding those spots where you've got a 6-inch line, you've got a 2-inch connector in between. Doesn't matter if you've got a 6-inch water line. If you've got 2 inches in between or 3-inch line in between, you're going to have 3 inches of volume of water. So all these corrections has to be made from years past, and it took a long time to get in this situation. It might take a little bit of time to get all these corrections made, but there is no doubt about it, Nina. Right now, you've got a good team put together with Bell Engineering Alliance that they're going to see this thing through. And I think that you guys, somewhere down the road, it might be a couple years, but you will have a system that Mike Smith and PSC and the Division of Water will not have to worry too much about. And so just bear with them. Everybody's on the same page here. Everybody wants this corrected and fixed and moving forward for Martin County citizens. They're very important to us, as well as other rural systems within our area. And so there's a lot of things that has to be attended to, and it does take a lot of money. And I think when I think Bob asked the question a minute ago, can this committee or kind of help on that? I guarantee you the Division of Water and Alliance or Bell or anybody would be glad to assist on our systems up here to get those corrections made and to make sure that people have got good potable water coming to their house. That's all I've got, John. I just don't want people to misunderstand that we're not trying, and it takes some time to get this done.
Sure. Thank you, Ben. Before I make some final announcements, does anybody have anything that we didn't cover or questions that didn't get asked?
I did want to add, just for Ms. McCoy, that we will be going back to Zoom meetings. And the reason, that was the first time in 2.5 years that we have not taken a question at a board meeting. And the reason we didn't take questions is we could tell how uncomfortable everybody was. Everybody was kind of freaking out about, masks and how many people were in the room and all that. So we were just trying to get the meeting complete and done, and then we can go back to Zoom meetings after that. And we will, of course, go back to taking questions.
Thank you, Jimmy. Madam Secretary, any closing remarks from you?
I don't think so. I have to say I've been very impressed today. I was really pretty excited to hear about the hydraulic data that's being collected. Something that we've been advocating for quite some time. I just am, every time we come to this meeting, we get a little further down the road, and I'm very encouraged by it. And I want to encourage everybody to keep their nose to the grindstone. We need to keep taking major strides forward, but thank you. And thank you, John.
Yes, thank you, Secretary. So There will be a link to the recording of this meeting for the Martin County webpage that the Secretary mentioned at the beginning of the session. Our future work group meeting date, proposed dates are November the 17th, February the 10th, and May 12th. Sounds like a long time out, but it'll be here before you know it. So I want to thank all the participants, all the presenters. I think it was a great meeting, and but that doesn't mean if you have any questions in the meantime, feel free to email Tammy or myself. We'll get questions answered. We don't have to wait till the quarterly meeting to address situations. These are obviously meant for updates and just to keep track of what's going on. So believe me, we work on this practically every week in some capacity, at least here in the DEP staff. And I can tell you, we have a lot of communication with Alliance along the way. So again, I thank all of y'all. Have a great afternoon. And again, if you have any questions, just give us a holler. Thank you.
Thank you, John.
Thank you.
Thanks, John. Thanks everyone for attending.